So now we're in SPSS Basics 5th edition and we will be covering Chapter 3. So Chapter 3 is on frequency distribution, and in this chapter we will learn how to open a saved data file, create a frequency distribution. You will learn how to save the SPSS statistics output. I'm not going to include printing out the SPS statistics output. That is included in your text, but I am not putting that in the video because that is not something that I require for you to do. If you also need to note that you will learn to format an SPSS statistics frequency distribution output for presentation in a research report. Now, this format will be within APA. If you are a sociology student, you will need to also learn ASA. Both of these style guides can be found online in the library. You should be able to obtain copies for that. For this class, you're welcome to complete it in APA if that is what you are more comfortable with doing. So first let's do step 1 and 2. We're going to open SPS and we're going to open a saved data file. So what you'll need to do is locate the Attitude Towards School file that you saved from Chapter 2, and you'll need to double click that to open the file. Now if you look here, this is probably how it will look for you. So you would double click on the Attitude Towards School. Note that it might be very easy for you to save this work on a flash drive. It is simply easier for you as a student to do that. I usually save mine on my desktop, but I have a specific place where I save them. You may want to use your flash drive so you can take it with you from computer to computer. Please do not put these on the school computer. The problem is because sometimes people will come in and erase them, and that is not something that you want to happen to your work. Then you would have to back up and regroup. So let's focus on keeping our own work safe. Now, to create a frequency distribution, you have opened your saved file, and you now need to click on variable view. We're in step 3 on your text. As you see, it's highlighted in yellow. And then you also need to click over to measure. You need to change the measurement to scale. Now, normally we assign a level of measurement within this. It's best to go ahead and use and choose the correct level of measurement, because it's good to make a practice of being able to specify this manually. This is extremely important, and you need to be aware of that, because if you're entering categorical data that's ordinal or nominal, earlier versions of the program prior to SPSS 20 normally will not assign the correct level. So always do this manually. Now the next step, we're at step 4, which is click on the data view. Again, you can see at the bottom of the screen, data view is highlighted. And then you're going to click on Analyze at the top of the screen. Now, after clicking Analyze, a drop-down menu will appear. And here you'll see the drop-down menu. It will appear and you will see Descriptive Statistics. You will put the cursor on that. Then you will slide your cursor over to frequencies and you will click on frequencies. We are at step 5 in your textbook. Now, also notice that if you see you can see at the top that you're in your attitude towards school file. So you want to make sure that you see that. Now, after we have done that, looking at the frequencies dialog box, you see that attitude towards school has been chosen. You will click on the arrow to move it into the variable box. As you see over to the right of your screen, we have moved it to the variables to the box, and make sure that you have a check on the display frequency tables. Then you're going to click OK. That is step 7, is clicking OK. So if you're following along in your text, now you will see frequency that was put in your output. Now this is very important, and I want you to look at this because you have your output. If you see, there is an N that is valid of 20 if you look at your statistics. You also see, if you look up at frequencies, it tells you that I'm in data set 1, that this is where my documents are, and I have an attitude toward school SAV file. Now look at your data. This is the data that you have done an input. That is your valid data. If you see, there's also a frequency. Note that no one had a score of 3. So in your attitude towards school frequency distribution from your SPSS output, you will not see a 3 in the table. Please note that you will have to include 3 in your table when you construct your own table. So in looking at the textbook, if you'll see that step 8 is printing the output, I am not including that in this presentation simply because I do not ask you to print the output. Please use your clipping tool or your print screen so that you can save the work that you have just done, and you can input it into your Word document as shown in the lecture. However, you will want to save your input. So what you will do, you will go to File in the upper left hand corner of the screen. You will click on Save As, and then it will tell you you should name the output file, and you should save your output in, as we spoke earlier, about your flash drive or portable drive. So make sure that you do that. And then of course make sure that you click Save. So now we're going to talk about formatting your output. Now the data that you have is the raw output. This is not normally presented when you are publishing or you're doing a presentation. Again, you'll need to look back at the style manual. My suggestion is to use APA or the ASA, which is American Sociological Association Style Guide. Now, this text uses APA because it is one of the more popular versions, and so what you would want to do is to follow your instructions on page 26. You'll want to look at that, and then I'm going to show you what it will look like, and I want you to be able to see some of the aspects of how it is completed. If you look at this, this is your APA format. If you notice that the scores were rearranged, the highest score 10 is on top. Decimal places have been removed, so the scores are only whole numbers. Let's look down at number 3, and if you see that, you can see that it has the 0 under frequency. That was because it was omitted in the SPSS output, but remember I also said that you had to include that in your formatted output. And then your third and fourth columns are labeled with the symbols percentage and cumulative percentage. And the table was given a number. This is table 3.1, which is fine if you'll label it that way. And then you also want to have a caption. Please make sure that you construct the your frequency distribution in this manner, and make sure that you have that available. I believe that the this says that it is like figure 3.8 on page 22. However, if you look at 3.8, this shows you that it's on 3.8, but on our textbook it is on page 23. So this is from an earlier version. Be sure then to look at the table on page 26 in your textbook, which is how it should be formatted. Don't forget to include all of your work in your coursework turn-in document and complete your exercise for Chapter 3.